Within this video I'm going to be taking you through some of the stages and processes of what my artwork has gone through throughout Unit 12. The subject I had chosen for this was video games, whether this be the characters or the scenes that they've gone through. I've chosen this because it's something I'm passionate about, and there's so many good stories within video games that I've experienced throughout the years. A lot of the work that I produce is digital, with only a few sketches being within a physical medium, so I'm going to be showing you on PC and taking you through. So to begin with, I started off with writing a bit about the anime style, because this is the style that I've mainly looked to when I've been doing my drawings. I've mainly been looking at artists working within this kind of style, putting their own twists on it, but this is the main area that they were working in, I would say. This is the artist that I've looked to the most, Ilya Kuvshinov. He's a Russian artist who's recently moved to Japan to focus more on anime, and with his artwork I basically wrote a bit about what he does, a bit about what I feel about his work, and just a bit of how the way he works. Jessica Luna, or Eat Slugs as she's known online, is another artist that I've really been looking to with some of these pieces, mainly the one piece that I'll show you a little bit later and I'll refer back to her again. But her pieces are very simplistic in design, but with a lot of nice bright colours to really vibrant up the characters. So here I've basically been talking a bit about her and her style again, and the way that she's worked. Priscilla Bampo is an artist that I've looked at mainly because they've worked strictly in line. A lot of their pieces just revolve around creations using line. She's managed to create a lot of shape and characters within these, and a lot of her pieces don't use any shading at all, which I find a bit amazing, the way she's managed to capture so much detail with just lines without overdoing it. So here I've looked at her work and I've talked a bit about her again, basically what she does, what she likes, and how the way she's grown online. Moving on to the pieces that I've created, this is the Gate of Time from Skyward Sword. I had mainly chosen this scene from the game because this specific area, it was so artistically creative the way they made the gate open up and then have the cogs move along with the gate as well. It was, I think the game was released back in 2011, so having my young eyes look at that, it was so creative. It was like so inspiring for the time, the way they had managed to put so much detail into this piece. Some of the effects that I added to this piece was using the gradient tool to create some of the pieces. Some of the effects, such as the glow on the Gate of Time, was made having the tool and dragging along, having the tool create a glow like that while having it selected within the area. If I alt click on the logo of the thing, it would highlight the area, allowing me to quickly add in some shading however I like. With this piece I looked more at Jessica Luna's art, the way that I tried to make Link look a little bit more simplified in the outline and design, as to not try and create too much detail, as he was an actual smaller part of the overall piece. The next character I went for was Samus from the Metroid games. With her character design, I was able to create a lot more detail than the previous one, because I decided to go for a portrait kind of style. I was primarily looking at Kuvshinov's work, the way that he creates smooth lines for the outlines of characters, as well as adding this dark shading to certain areas of the hair, which I like, and I think it gives it a very good contrast between dark and lights. Within this piece I once again added gradients to create darker areas to help improve the shadows. I added them up here and down here and all across the body, just to help increase the power of them shadows. This is what the base layers of the image would look like, but after adding the highlights and the darker shadows, this is more of what you get on the underneath. and then when I add the shadows, it just helps create a lot more of the character shape. In the past, I've done a lot of my sketches on pen and paper, but with this subject I wanted to focus purely on creating fully in digital. So an artist that I've looked at before, Davey Perkins, he does his sketches all in Photoshop, with the first sketch being a simple shape kind of build up, and then the second one being where he adds a lot more detail into it, and then the third one being his final outline where he continues to add more detail. That's kind of the approach that I've done here, by creating a lot more detail in the sketch, and then when I move to the outline I managed to capture a lot more of the detail, and it allows me to focus more on getting straight lines without having to try and compromise and understand the way the object should look. When creating the shadows, I chose a really dark blue colour, which allows it to have a lot more of a dynamic feel to it and a bit more of a style to it. And then I selected this as a hard light and simply painted on where I wanted the shadows to be, adjusting them as I go along, lowering the opacity to 60% as well. Having a hard light allows it to appear a lot more vibrant, and it allows the colour to lay on top of the images a bit better and merge with the different colours. My main study throughout this project was Kuvishinov and his style, as he managed to capture a lot of nice colour within his images, as well as having a lot more of that dark shading that I seem to really like and I've found in other artists, but Kuvishinov manages to capture a lot more of these dark areas within his images a lot better. There's many social medias purely tailored towards artists such as ArtStation, but some social medias that I found most useful and most effective for work is such as Twitter and Instagram, whereas on Twitter you can have very high resolution images, whereas it doesn't compress your files that much, allowing for people to have almost HD viewing of your artwork. The second social media that I've also gone for is Instagram, as it's purely tailored towards images, mostly photographs, but also artwork, as a lot of artists come on and to post their work here. Another feature on Instagram that I like, which is probably imported from social media such as Snapchat, is the Stories feature, which allows you to view it allows you to post 24-hour images, which could be shares from other people's image or shares of your own new post that you've done. It also allows you to do stuff such as what I've done here, which allows you to post a photograph, a more high resolution image, and it allows you to crop it so that it can be used as a wallpaper or a phone background. These can then also be saved along your profile as save stories. And as you can see here, I've saved mine as wallpapers, which then people can go on and then hold their finger down on the screen and then take a screenshot and simply use it as their background. The last area of a social media that I created was a website. I simply made this on Wix as it's free, but other ones that I might consider looking at in the future are ones such as Squarespace. But on here it was simply just to show how a website would maybe look if I was to make one. I laid it out so that my images would show a simple thumbnail overall, and then when hovered over it would tell you a little bit and show you the names. Clicking on one would show you the image as well as what the title would be. I could also add a bit of a description if I wanted to. You can also select to enlarge the picture. Another section of the website was the About section, where you can write a bit about yourself. Here I didn't go into too much detail, as this was more of just a simple showcase of what it could look like. And maybe down here you would add more stuff such as who you've worked with. The final area that I added was a contact section, which would simply be where people could contact you if they wanted to work or if they wanted to ask you any questions. An extra bit that I added to the website was the small social media bar down at the bottom, where it would show if you clicked on one, it would take you to whichever website you wanted to go to. Some other pieces that I've made which aren't in the digital medium are these drawings that I've done of character portraits from the Metal Gear Solid games. With these I created them with permanent marker, and I went for some of the characters, trying to focus more on shadows in the way that I can try and create harsh shadows, taking inspiration from the artist of the games, Yoji Shinkawa. With these I created Snake from the game, Commander Miller from the game. I created Ocelot from the game, trying to focus all on the way that the light is coming in from the scenes and would create shadows on the characters. Trying to create as much depth and shape as I can with the characters with these drawings. Another piece that I created here was of Arthur Morgan from the Red Dead Redemption series. I used charcoal here to try and capture as much, again, with the light and the shading, which is something that I've been trying to focus on. So the next question is, how do you mark your work and get it seen? Now there's a few ways you can do this. As a good one is to join in on other artists, draw this in your styles, where they would post an image of something that they've drawn, and then you would draw it within your own art style, and then use their hashtag, and they would usually share it along with their profile. Another way to market your account is on Instagram. You can pay to have a sponsored account, basically allowing you to show up in people's timelines without them having to search up anything to find you. This is alright, but it usually would cost money, so another counter to this is to change your account into a business account, which intentionally allows you to see when your followers are most active, and then you can post within those hours, allowing them to have more interaction with your audience, allowing you to grow more based on the algorithm. So the final question is, what else could I do for the future? And well, a good place to start is to have a consistent upload of images and artwork to social medias, even if it's just one. Because having a consistent upload basically allows people to remember you, and it allows you to grow up in the algorithm as they see that you are constantly supporting on their platform. As of something else you could do is, there's always these websites that people are posting some like job listings, and for me I'll be looking at the ones of indie developers working on games, and then I could see if they needed an artist or like a concept artist, and putting yourself in for that could allow you to work on their game with them. Something else that I could do for the future is also reaching out to other artists, such as like musicians and musician brands, such as Monster Cat and artists that I like, Abstract. They would allow you to work with them and create art with them, possibly leading to a bit more of a somewhat job. A simple and pretty obvious thing to do now for the future is to keep working on skills and developing your artwork over time. doing as many studies as you can before you start having to go do some other work and not having as much time for art in the future. So developing your skills right now is pretty important. And so with all that said, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.